For me, it's I'm projecting energy from my third eye with open-hearted love, like bliss-placed love, into the third eye of the animal as well. And then visualizing like heart-to-heart connection that maybe we do on with our higher self, compassionate healing, but we're doing this with third eye to third eye. And then I see that the cat is just like walking around the building onto the other side. It's like, okay, it's happening. There's proof. Um,
Welcome, sacred travel enthusiasts, to a new episode of Deep Healing and Earth Wisdom with my fascinating guest, Samantha Lewis. Sam has always been an advocate for truth and freedom, formerly as a Jewish fashion lawyer, and now an artist, herbalist, designer, a death doula, lightworker, and plant communicator. Sam, welcome.
Hi there. Hi, Julia. Thanks for this. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how our conversation moves and grows and flows today.
I am excited too. I feel it's just like the beautiful patterns that you are weaving, just like we're weaving this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting to see how much wisdom comes from nature, and it comes in so many different forms that in a way it's just about translating the forms and the shapes and the patterns that come through. And I also want to speak quickly about the pattern that you have behind you. This is actually a bird's nest that I found on the floor in the forest a few weeks ago. And as I created my prediction pattern, it kind of looks like the skull of my cat when he passed away. So it's very interesting to have this like birth and
Oh, you're
death
right. I
kind
can
of,
see.
yeah,
Oh, I can see it now. So
yeah, like the
everybody.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really and like
amazing.
the nose in the middle and the mouth. Yeah. But he's also got his like third eye, and there's almost some jewel in the forehead in between the eyes. So with this, I'm really noticing the similarities between Atlantean healing temples and the crystals and different symbols or sigils on different parts of the spirits' images. Yeah, you can.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
So we're already like deep, deep in the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's go one step back.
Yes, go
Um,
go back.
I just want to also, as maybe a little bit of an introduction to you for our audience, you say that your focus is on cross species and like cross realm communication. Can
Yeah.
you explain that a little bit to us?
Yes. So as as I'm quite sensitive, I'm able to feel different energetic presences. In 2012, I did a sensing energy course where I was holding crystals, or I was going into the forest and putting my hands on the trees to see if there are any messages coming towards me. And that was kind of the main focus initiation rather. And over the years, I'd had messages coming through from different places that I didn't really understand. And doing this course, everything got really focused, and I was able to then start working with different energetic vibrations from mountains, from rivers. It then became more of a daily playful practice where I would then go in to talk to everything. So living quite an isolated life for a period of time, instead of letting like loneliness or overwhelm kind of overshadow the experience, I started actually talking to the objects and noticing that the objects would respond back in certain ways. And then I went to a conversation with Native American chief in London, and he was explaining about how a table tables, it is being, it is present, it has its own energetic makeup. One, it comes from the tree. The tree has its imprint still there. The the person that created it would also have their imprint layered onto and combined with the tree energy. So, and then also energetic of a space, what goes on there, what goes onto the table, what kind of feelings, emotions, thoughts get left behind on the layer on top of the table, then these are the things that I can pick up on, and from that then I can, or then I've learned to expand that out. So for example, speaking to mountains when I used to live in the mountains, listening to the snow. Sometimes when I, after many years of overwhelm and living in the city, then going off into remote nature where, and going through the whole like silence, isolation, explosion of like, how to explain it? The, yeah, like a firework, the kind of silence that you get after the firework. Once you're so overwhelmed with something, the bubble needs to pop and then you're left with the silence. So that, I mean, that can be seen as burnout, or it can be seen as having like a breakdown, or like a crying or an orgasm. That like space after this huge explosion of energy
Hmm.
has come into peacefulness. And within that space, then you can start hearing things that aren't your own voice. And also working through many layers of other people's voices, other people's layerings or projections onto you as people grow up. There's always a point in time when someone gets to that moment in their life where it's like, okay, this is my mother's voice, this is my father's voice, this is like
Yeah.
my friend's voice from high school. Once we peel back all of those layers, then you find your own silence. And then you notice when something is not your own thought voice. So then you can say, okay, like, who was that? What was that? And it's normally either something very, very small that's got a very loud voice, or something very big that's got a very quiet voice. So the mountains are always very quiet, and it's more like a feeling somewhere. When I was in the south of Spain, there was a mountain that has a big mine in it. And the energy never got cleaned from the mind. So I felt this like massive apathy of like, just take it. I don't care. And this sadness and grief that was never really able to be processed. And I wanted to do some healing work in the mine, because it had it, like the minerals it had in it were a complete journey. I'm trying to remember, it had lead, it had silver, it had selenite, and there was something else. And it was almost like the journey of our body, like cleaning out the blood, then going into changing elements, like how do we transform ourselves, and then reaching into like the angelic realms with the selenite.
Hmm.
So it could have been a very beautiful journey, but because there was so much grief of the mountains that could be felt, that there's no point in pouring out other people's emotions or feelings or blocks into that space, because the mountains couldn't handle it. There was no space because the mountain was still on its own emotion. And it's almost like understanding how the mountains can feel, you can then apply it to humans, and understanding how humans can feel, you can also see that energy within nature as well. And there was another moment in Italy and up in the mountains with the snow, and the snow was just saying like, please turn off your engine. The gas is heating up the snow and it's tripping a switch in the earth, and the the greenhouse gases are acting as like pheromones to the earth's senses. And
Mm.
the earth is then having different mechanisms switched on or off. And then that's also having a snowball effect on some of the other mechanisms like flooding and droughts and fires, because the earth doesn't want to give so much resource when it's not being used in the right way, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
yeah, yeah, it's so then a lot of people ground into the earth, but then they ground a lot of negativity into the earth rather than grounding positivity. So it's that
Yeah,
like depositing something dirty and then taking something pure instead of giving something beautiful back, or giving something beautiful in gift, or like sacrifice, but not sacrifice, like a gift on the altar. The earth needs that as
yeah,
well as o- holding space for us to offer negative things back into the earth.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I feel like I haven't fully spoken about the cross species communication, but it's more on like this feeling space that I've experienced,
Yeah, yeah,
how different things will communicate to me. I think also having this space to just be open to listening from other objects and being open that something can speak to you. Also cross realm, so interdimensional conversation. I very much opened myself up to being able to communicate to Arcturians, to Syrian star seeds, to Palladians, to Atlanteans, to get lots of wisdom coming through in times of need. And these kinds of experiences have been very symbolic, and it's more like breadcrumbs that have been given to me. So it's seeing the kind of the tiny voices. Like Native Americans will focus on insects as very powerful beings because they're so small, but their wings can create such massive windstorms in as the ripples go out. I'm noticing that how to explain it. I'm noticing that like the really small breadcrumbs that I'm being offered and shown then gives me confirmation that we are receiving different forms of communication.
mm, mm,
Also, my my eyesight is tetrachromatic, so it's like the female version of color blindness, but it's the opposite. So I see hypercolor. And then this allows me to see different auras and different apparitions. And because I'm just very open to it, I'm very curious about it. I I feel this this need to demonstrate to humanity and the rest of listeners and people who are going to interact with what I share, that I need to inspire them to just have an open heart, because once we start opening our heart, then we can allow human consciousness to start evolving. And this is more of where we're moving forward to, and whatever glimmers of inspiration that are popping up and popping out, that will have an effect on someone.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that you're saying that because I feel, all that you've shared now, it seems like it can be super overwhelming, especially to somebody who is not really trained in how to use these things. So when did you understand that you were some sort of translator for all of these codings and information that are coming in and coming like through you?
Yeah, it was very slow and incremental. Also, we have control over how much we let in at one point. Like, if it gets too overwhelming, we can just tell our guides to say, hey, stop, like, enough. I will pick this back up when we're ready. And I did that once at the beginning. And then I thought, you know what? Nope, I'm just going to go fully into it and go super deep. And now I am a little bit dislocated from society in a way that, like, yesterday I was working in a cafe, and I like to do these jobs because I have a tea company, so it's always nice to like share what I'm doing and also learn a lot from people at the same time. And I could see these children were looking at my aura, and one child was very like quite shy about it, and then another child was just super fascinated. And I looked at the parents, and I really wanted to express to them like, hey, your children can see auras. Please keep this gift open. But then I was looking, and there was something that was just like, they're just not going to get it right now. Like, they're just not. And so I asked my higher self to, like, at some point when they're about to close, talk to these children again through their higher self to keep it open. So this is the only thing that can really be done in certain situations. It works on the unseen rather than the seen.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'm going to speak to some parents in a cafe, then it's like, hold up, what on earth is going on here? Who is this crazy person? It's just easier, and you don't want to have the child know that there could be something wrong with them, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Like, wrong in
Mm.
inverted commas when it's actually right and it's pure, and like the telepathy tapes is demonstrating that it's like the ultimate pure way that we should be. That, yeah, I don't want any programming put onto these kids that there's something wrong with them. They need to like have it open. And as soon as there's like that word is wrong or different or overwhelm or like this this potential negative or restriction or limiting belief system, then everything closes. And the way to really maintain these gifts is to stay in the love-based place. So moving out of scarcity, like, cities are scary places, and there's lack, and there's like, who's gonna like come and find us or hunt us, or like in the jungle, but concrete jungle, then yeah, yeah. Then we need to not stay in the scary city place. We need to like go into the abundance and like the dancing place and the like a sun, like I keep on saying ascendance, a sun dance,
Mm.
because it's in this like, yeah, it's in this happy place. So once we stay in this happy love-based place or this sunny dance, then these gifts and this open communication is more possible, because things are like, oh, you're open to it. Great. We're going to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like seeing a happy face on the train and you just want to like go and speak to that person. That's what objects and cross species and cross realm communication is all about. Like, if an apparition feels safe to communicate, then it will do. It's not going to like communicate to someone who's super close unless they have the message to initiate that person into opening their heart.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Do you feel like your main, let's say, tool to translate or like to make these spirits have a voice, or maybe it's not a voice, but like is the patterns that you are creating. That's
Yeah,
the way they are
totally.
speaking.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think going back to that translation moment through the incrementals and getting these messages coming through from the patterns, it was something like, hang on a minute, I'm just translating what they're they're saying. I'm trying to explain to someone about the medicine of a plant, and then that's how they're communicating. So, or they're communicating that message to that person to understand. And the patterns for me, you see that one object and then like the bird's nest. And then I'm curious to know like what's going on there, like what other message or what other conversation wants to come out. Sometimes it's just a healing grid, or sometimes it's a message to do something or to go in a direction somewhere, or other times it's a actual character or being that really wants to come through to manifest into this reality and share its message. I made one of the prediction patterns out of the spiral of the whales blowing air as a hunting net. So I must say, normally I always make my own photos, my own source imagery, and then I work from that. But then sometimes there's just this curiosity that's like, go on then, let's see what message is meant to come out from something else. So looking at whales with their hunting nets or their hunting bubbles, that created this image that was so beautiful. And there was a ring-tailed lemur image that was, or character that was popping up. And then there was also an owl that was also coming out of the like mirroring.
I think you have to explain what this technique that you're using with this, or the prediction pattern that you're using, what that is.
Yeah. So I a strong believer in as below as above. We are all mirrors to people. We're all a lesson. So I like to look at a situation or a life experience in a certain way. So what's the mirroring? What's the reflection of it? So seeing the mirror, but then seeing it from an upside down position. What's being reflected back to me? What's upside down? Like, how do I see this on its head? And then how do I find the happy balance between the reflection and the opposite? So then this is creating like a square of a pattern. So then I will create the image and then create the mirror and then flip it over and see what comes through in this grid structure. And then going deeper and deeper and deeper into it to see like what's next and what's next and what's next. Because something may not happen in the first image, but then as I'm building up on these images, then other things will come through. And then I also
And th-
translate. Oh, sorry. Yep.
and an example would be the bird's nest that is behind me right now, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
you
this,
have that one shot, and then
yeah.
you
So it's
create
on,
the entire pattern out of it.
yeah. So it's on like a two mirror, it's on a mirror, vertical mirror. And then it's been repeated. So sometimes I repeat them, sometimes I flip them upside down. Like this one behind me is jellyfish. That's a whole other spirit that's come through. She is incredible. Like I'm absolutely fascinated with this jellyfish being. She's a total starseed actually. So this one was a mirror and then upside down like this and then folded on three. So then it's slightly off, Like you can see that there's like this one part here and then another part here and then another part at the top, but then it's also mirrored in the middle. So this was from part of that jellyfish series. It's not actually the one that has this really beautiful woman spirit that's coming through. But the going back to the whales with the owl and the ring-tailed lemur, I asked them for a message because I think like if I'm using another image, it's really because they've got a message to say. And the whale and the ring-tailed lemur and the owl basically said like we are representatives of the animal kingdom, the animal council. We really need you to move from heart-based communication. We really need you to move from this like heart-based pure love and compassion. And sometimes the messages don't have to be so long. Sometimes they're just very succinct. But it was really this feeling that I got at the same time of like just bliss-filled love. Like my energy was here, and then suddenly it felt up here with this
Lifted.
whole tingling vibration feeling of like just pure love. So I kind of noticed that I'm getting a lot of these messages coming through from different places and things. And I have some of my tea here. And my logo is this little witch person that came through from the forest.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this came through from a piece of rotting wood. And then I also created the same. Yeah. 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 Talking about plants communicating and this whole rebirth kind of energy coming from rotting wood. I really see this poetic cycle. And the this woman has then been, funnily enough, she came through again in a sort of different form in some of the other patterns
Oh,
that I made.
wow.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see how the same visual kind of like comes through in different ways with the kind of like wings and the arms, but going off in different directions. And she's the guardian of like I'm her human representative. She's just talking to me and I'm channeling her when I'm speaking to someone about the tea that they're about to purchase or about to drink. Like, hey, what health complications do you have? Like, how are you feeling today? I can feel something in you. Like, what what is it? Can we go further into it? And I let her speak. I feel like she's this very strong maternal, a very like feisty kind of guardian that comes through in order to support people through their own healing journey. So yeah, I don't really know how to speak about her so much. We just kind of like work in union. Um,
It's a mirror. She's a mirror.
yeah, really, really, really. She's really like mirroring other people through me. And it's always fascinating to see like, how did I know this? How did I know to say this? Like,
Yeah.
how did I know to ask someone about this? Or something earlier in the day led up to a real life experience that can be utilized in that conversation with someone. Yeah, I have that quite a lot, quite often. Mm. It really happens quite a lot. And yeah, that's like another way that I also have noticed with speaking to people, or they will kind of come up in my thoughts and then they will appear or they will message or call, and it's definitely a thing that a lot of people will have going on in their daily life, but they won't fully connect the dots But this is the beginning part of telepathy, and this is the beginning part of cross-species communication. Just
Hmm.
noticing that something is popping up in your head and then it appears. Like,
Yeah.
even if you notice it afterwards, it's still, there's still something that goes on. And from being in such an isolated experience for such a long time, it's almost like quite a good science lab in in sensing things because there's such little external experience or input or influence going on. When something does come into my field, then it's really like, oh, okay, there really
Yeah.
is something
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
that's not me. Like,
Yeah.
in this space, I didn't have water for a year and a half. And then I finally had a tap put in, and then I was like, that there's something else in the room with me. Like, I don't know what it is. I can really feel something. It feels very high vibrational. Like, what a buzzing. What is it? And then I realized it was water. And I'm like, okay, I've now finally met water spirit. I now finally understand water spirit. Like, okay, I don't fully understand it, but like, I understand the vibration of water spirit. I understand this, like, what it feels like somehow. And then that
Hmm.
got me, but you can only know about that through it not being there, through
Yeah.
that silence after the
Yeah.
firework or like that vacuum or so yeah, isolation is very interesting and it was very a conscious isolation as well. So I could learn and it was also pre-corona. So like it
Mm,
was very,
okay.
very yeah, it was very interesting to go through this and then extend it out for a few years in a conscious way to just see what else grew and came in that space. And now I have like clear smell, clear hearing, clear vision. I can like feel other people's like pain points. I can feel like frazzled auric energy from like 200 meters coming into this space or into my space or like into the surrounding. So I'm also noticing how far I can sense things.
Yeah.
And that's also
Yeah.
a really, really interesting game. Like gamifying it, like finding learning how to use these gifts or these skills or tapping into this extra sensory ability allows like if you start creating a game about it and a daily practice or not even a daily practice, but then amplifying the consciousness when you're stepping into that space, like consciously listening to what you can hear, then 5 meters away, then 15 meters, then 50 meters, then like what can you hear outside and down the road if you can locate or
I love
visualize.
that. That's a great practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you can do that with other things like what can you smell? What can you taste? What can you see? And then once you do it behind a wall or like in another room, then you begin to expand out your remote viewing abilities, which is a form of telepathy, which is a form of cross species or cross realm, cross space communication.
So, what would you recommend to people who don't have the capacity to isolate themselves, such as you did? What's a starting point?
I want to say sound reducing headphones, sitting in a place where it's also a mindset. How to explain that? Creating your own little bubble of energy, like a bubble outside your auric field that you can cancel out energy or cancel out sounds. And you focus all of your attention into that perimeter. And once you're fully focused on that perimeter, other things begin to lessen, and the like humdrum of everything begins to lower down and lessen. And once you're in that space, then you can slowly begin to expand out and then see how the volume goes up and down of whatever sense you're working with. Also, asking your spirit guides to help you to create a safe container and to create a safe space that you can begin to learn these practices. Also, going out into nature or going out into a park, like inner cities are also really interesting because you can create this little field around you within a park and then almost get closer to people or let people walk past and then begin to feel what they're feeling or sense what they're sensing. And then you can see the difference between your own energy and then someone else's, or go close to find mother trees or find the big energy trees in a forest. There always seems to be a location in the forest that all the trees are deformed in some way. Some are really, they've got like multiple trunks coming out of them instead of just one solid trunk. Then you kind of know that the energy is, there's something there. Yeah. So beginning to speak to them. So either sitting yourself in the center and then feeling what you feel, how to open up to what you're feeling is also the simple hands, like hand warming exercises, and then putting just a little crystal in your hand and then seeing how it feels. But then comparing that, like going into the supermarket and comparing
Mm,
the different fruits.
mm. Yeah.
How does a lemon feel in comparison to a potato, in comparison to a banana, in comparison to chopped up leaves versus, or in comparison to whole leaves, holding a basil plant and a thyme plant. They're, yes, they're in plastic, can be, but then finding finding different versions of the same thing in order to feel its energy. So rocket rocket plant rucola from the supermarket, or going to the beach or a sandy location and finding rucola in nature, and or rucola from a garden center that's been nurtured in a very tender way in relation to rucola on the side of the road. This example really opened my eyes and initiated me into the overlap between human experience and plant experience, and
Mm,
the tone and vibration of personality of plant, of human. So rucola grown on the side of the road where it's having to deal with all the pollution from the cars, and it doesn't have water every single day. It's kind of like tough and resilient and a little bit bitter because it's had all the pollution going through it and no one's been singing to it. Whereas rucola that has been grown in garden center, that's organic and biodynamic, and the owner goes personally down to the plant and will speak to it every day and give it water and give it everything it needs. That's unconditional love. So then it's very sweet and tasty and soft and gentle. And you can kind of see this in humans as well. When someone's grown up in conditional love, they may have that like more resilience or like harder exterior that you need to kind of soften up somehow.
mm,
And then ones that have people that have grown in unconditional environments, there's like an extra vitality or like vivaciousness or like unassuming sweetness to them somehow, that it's a different vibration, but both can eventually get to the same location either way. Like the the unconditional love can then experience hardship that then puts them into the resilience vibration, and the conditional love can then suddenly like pop out into pure unconditional love and then soften and then open. And you also see this with animals. Also, you kind of notice that animals are a totally different experience as well, because they are aware that humans can speak to them and can hear them. And you can see where cats, especially, have learned to mimic human sounds, but in a way that some humans are just so unaware that that's possible. But yeah, yeah. And how to like move it into where I want to go with this. There's a cat that I have been working with. I called in an animal that really needs my support in moving through its soul correction. And this arthritic cat from the neighbor turned up at my door, mimicking human, like saying hello in order to get attention. And also, I've noticed in the forest, different birds will also mimic the form of hero, like
Wow.
yeah, like other birds will also kind of start talking to humans like humans, because they're trying to say like, hey,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like we're here, we can speak to you, come on, hello, wakey wakey guys, you need to start coming back to us. So that the cat will get my attention, but then I'm explaining to her to come into another entrance of the house for many different reasons, but I'm showing her the route in my head, and for me it's I'm projecting energy from my third eye with open-hearted love, like bliss place love, into the third eye of the animal as well, and then visualizing like heart to heart connection that maybe we do on with our higher self, compassionate healing, but we doing this with third eye to third eye. And then I see that the cat is just like walking around the building onto the other side. It's like, okay, it's happening. There's proof. Um, yeah, and we like going back to my cat, that I work a lot with cats. Cats are this mechanism that they're already in the cosmos, and they're real strong consciousness that's in a meat package that's got four legs and it's soft, and they're a soul contract in and of themselves, that it's a I don't know how to like put it on the pillar to look at it, but like cats are an entity of themselves, and but they're a very good and easy mechanism to work with. And through this fascination, going back to my own cat Bast, I had him taxidermied after he passed as a curiosity to see how we can do cross species communication via cross realm and like this life death portal. He did pass with like he got run over, so
Hmm.
I didn't like, yeah, kill him for that, but I'm seeing this opportunity, and then I'm going further into it, seeing that Celts and Egyptians and Indonesians will keep the body in a mummified state above ground as a portal into the afterlife or other realms. So with Bast, I had him taxidermied by an incredible taxidermist, and she's also quite kind of like witchy lady. So I think we accidentally like trapped his soul in the body of the taxidermy. And just to go through this whole experience in a very experimental, scientific way, I would take him around with me as I did when he was alive. Like, he would sleep on the dashboard of my car, and we would go to the forest, and he wasn't a house cat, if that makes sense. And then I would put him back in my car as a taxidermy state, and I would get these messages from him like, clean me, like really with like force and vigor, like really quite
Wow.
aggressively, or like careful, and really just have this like, okay, now I need to listen, now I need to pay attention. And whenever he would say clean me, when someone else was in the car, there would always be something that would just, it just wasn't right. There was something dirty in the energy or the experience, or something bad would happen. And so I'm really, there's
You know what's
really,
funny? My cat is just like she wants to come in. I can hear her scratching the door. It's like, let me in. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, it's like, we've got something to show you here. Yeah, when I start talking about cats, always the person I'm speaking to, their cat is like, I need to get in on this conversation. It's really strange. It's not strange, it's normal. They're a
Yeah,
sentient being, like,
yeah.
it's just normality. They're like, "Hey, you're talking about me. I need to say something." Or let me see this person that's actually talking about this kind of stuff. Um, and yeah, even with Fast being alive, when I was driving with him, suddenly he would start meowing like he's got something to say, and I'd open up my telepathic, I don't know, my focus would be here whilst I'm driving, but then suddenly he'd be like, "Meow." So I'd have to open up this to allow the communication to come in, and then I'd see in like some split second, look in the rearview mirror and see this like
Mm,
jug crossing, like heading towards us. So then I go into the other lane, and this for me is also cross species communication. It's starting, and it's starting, and then I'm able to, with people who have dogs that would bark to notify the owner that someone's invading their territory, or to like be scary to keep someone out the territory. I telepathically project a message being like, "Hey, it's just Sam. I'm coming in. You don't need to bark. It's all okay. It's safe. Like, don't worry. It's just me. Hi." Then it's like quite interesting to see that the animal will also just be calm, and the owner's like, they don't normally do that. I was like, yeah, I know. I just told them it's okay. It's like,
yeah.
ah, okay. So yeah, I don't know, it's projecting from this love place in this field that's here. I feel like you're more projecting from this field up here when you're doing working with telepathy, rather than the like heart energy.
Yeah, that it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Wow. I mean, there's so many things that you touched on, and I feel that, with the animals, it's kind of like a segue into people's homes, because I also would want to ask you how these patterns that you are creating and making all this, yeah, almost like artistic. It's not tapestries, but all, yeah, I mean, you can like put them on fabrics. You can either just like hang them on the wall. You can print your clothing with it, basically anything. So how do these patterns and the energy that is behind affect us as humans in the day to day that we interact with them?
Yeah, this is a big space that is growing and developing in many ways. First of all, it's about the sacred geometry. So, and going back to that, how do I view a situation. Some of the, I have some pieces here as well. So yeah, I'll do this one. Printing the images onto, can you see it with the
Yeah.
reflections? Yeah, the reflections, but it's okay.
Wow. No, it's
Um,
okay. Yeah, we can see.
yeah, yeah. So having these reflections, then it's like you've got one situation here, and then you look at the mirror, and then you look at the reflection, and then you find the balance. So these are more mechanism of just, okay, how do I do like a daily ritual? How do I do, how do I find calmness through this like visual cue? That's what I'm explaining with these images for people. And I'm hearing back for the ones that work with them that it's quite a lot of interesting pausing moments in their life. Like they just look at it on their wall and they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, that was like a big moment, but actually I can go through this little journey and then come out the other side of like, okay, there's peace and there's tranquility with it." Also, some of the images are really a whole story. And then that person comes through with this whole entire story of like, these are the representatives that like, these are their guardians. And then they're going through this journey, but they know that their journey is safe because they've got the guardians there. So it's giving them like this peace and tranquility that's,
Protection.
yeah, a lot of protection. Yeah, then I'm also developing wallpaper at the moment as well. So that's like a whole big interior that I haven't fully experienced yet, but I'm very, very curious to see how people find that in their space. Also with the colors. So looking at sacred
Mm-hmm.
imagery, looking at color therapy as well. I'm kind of feeling the grid system that the patterns are creating is is a vibration that's almost creating this like grid system around the space as well. So
Mm.
I'd like to experiment more with that. Also using different like crystals ground up within the inks and going back
Oh,
to the
wow.
like crystal technology as well. This is like the next level of where I'm going with this.
This
And I'm
is
all,
high vibrational wallpaper.
yeah, right. Yeah. Then I've also been working on like a smaller scale with okay, let's figure this out. Can you see it? Yeah, I'm trying to like
Yeah.
see the
We'll direct people to your profile anyway. So if you
yeah,
would want to really have a look at these beautiful patterns that Sam is showing, please go to her Instagram profile.
thanks. Thanks. So these screen prints are made with the inks of the tea. So then in Ayurvedic medicine, there is a practice where you will infuse the fabrics that you're wearing with the plants, and that will also help
Mm.
the plant energetics and minerals and essential oils to go into the skin. So I'm working with that concept as well of using the plants on with these patterns onto clothing to then see what energetics people will feel from this. And then I'm also working with like other repetitive shapes in these kinds of wooden pieces
Oh, there
that,
she is again.
yeah, that like come through in, yeah, this came through after accidentally meeting Neptune and Poseidon on the beach. Like, but then also having a lot with rising phoenixes as well.
Mm.
So these pieces are, I don't know how to explain them. This is what I do for me, and they're coming out, and then they're also being translated into smaller pieces as well, like jewelry and tiles, and using all of these patterns to then be put into other objects that go into the home. So yeah, it's all put onto the body. So it's like this grid lattice system, but then also a mechanism for finding harmony within oneself, or like gaining comfort and protection.
I love that. And, to actually come back to the beginning, it very much feels like ancient Atlantean technology.
Yeah, yeah, especially, yeah, it really is. And it looks like it as well, if that makes sense. Like this pattern was from common reed, which is Phragmites, which is found along riverbanks and lakes and this kind of stuff across Europe, at least there, I know. And if you condense the rhizome into a liquid, you can then find a form of DMT in it as well. So it's interesting because the reed will then filter what has seeped out of the earth away from the water. So it's really this cross realm plant as well that
Mm.
it straddles both water and because it's one of these plants that is in this transition location, like herons will go on from earth to water to air. They've got this extra power or extra resonance to what they can offer. And so it makes sense that if they can clean the earth, then they can also clean like our minds and our experiences as well. And it's just interesting that I did this whole pattern and then translated it into a knitting pattern, and then have this kind of like also like a fractal that's coming through within within this kind of, yeah, within this pattern. So
Yeah.
I also feel that it's quite empowering also to be within these patterns, and also people that get the clothing as well, that's also something that they're also experiencing as well. Like they just feel that it there's some message in it for them. um
Yes.
yeah.
Wow. Sam, it feels like you have just opened the door for us into a whole new dimension of like what's even possible when we expand our consciousness to, yeah, to all of the beings that are surrounding us and that we are sharing this planet with. I know we kind of like scratched the surface. So I wanna ask you, as we come to a close, is there anything that you would want to share that we haven't touched on?
Just reinforcing the whale the whale message of moving from open-hearted love-based place, but then always putting intention out to the universe and watching it come back to you. The whale message is a very interesting one and an interesting example of that. I went to an art festival and I asked the universe to show me only the dreamers. And I see the dreamers as people who can straddle both this reality and channel from other realms and use art as a mechanism. One woman I met was channeling light language. She doesn't know what it means, but she channels light language. And then another woman, she says that she will create an artwork in like 6 hours, but she's not present. It's just coming through her. Yeah, and she used within this artwork the symbol of a ring-tailed lemur and an owl, which was then from the.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, this combination is really rare and very specific. So once you kind of see the out of the ordinary as like a doorbell into, or like the key into a portal, then yeah, just stay aware for the things that are out of the ordinary, because that's where the specialness is.
I love that. One of my key phrases is escaping the ordinary. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it always comes back to that. Yeah. Yeah.
ah, wow. So, yeah, please let us know, where can people find you if they want to dive into this world fully and completely.
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is Samm_Lewis, Lewis. And then my tea is
A
herbal
nice
tea.
play on words.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Herbal teas. It's the same Instagram and .com for my website. And there you will find, across both platforms, well, three platforms, you'll find everything that I'm doing. When I'm doing it, I need to express, and when I'm not expressing, then there's something else that's going on. So it comes through in fits and starts. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. So
wow.
thank you.
Amazing. I learned so much today, and I'm a obsessed cat lady, so I will definitely try your way of communication.
Yeah, yeah. Also the telepathy tapes is also adding like a layer on to what I already know. So non-speaking, I also experienced like a while with not wearing my glasses, and then all my other senses got a lot bigger. So playing with this, experiment, have fun, like play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing, yeah, this beautiful wisdom and being the translator for so many of these spirits that are trying to catch our attention.
Yeah, yeah, the nice ones. The nice ones.
Well, we decide, right, what we want to let in.
Exactly. Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Thanks so much. Okay, much love. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this conversation. I hope that there was a lot of pearls of wisdom for you in this. So make sure that, yeah, you re-listen. There's a lot of wisdom in there. And as always, stay curious and continue to escape the ordinary. I'll see you next time.